Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 129. This week has been down and then up. Had a bit of a tough start to the week. I always struggle when Angela and Rosie aren't here, and as I said at the end of the last vlog, there was a pretty terrible thing that happened last week which didn't impact me directly but did impact me directly in a way. Yeah, it's kind of carried through into the beginning of this week. I was feeling pretty down. But yesterday was my birthday and the day before that was good, and yeah, I just hammered through it and kept going and managed to get quite a lot done in the end. And put a smile back on my face. As you can see, I'm not putting this on. Yesterday was lovely. Even though I didn't have anyone around for my birthday, it was still a lovely day with lots of love from lots of people, and I just enjoyed the whole day, which is always good. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that this maybe gives you a bit of encouragement if you're feeling down yourself. I know that mental health is a problem for a lot of people. Not many people admit it, but I hope that maybe, yeah, you can have down periods, and that's normal. But just keep going, because after the down there is the up. What goes down must come up, to butcher a phrase. So hopefully that'll encourage some of you. But if not, hopefully you'll just enjoy the video anyway, and the progress I've made, because I've made progress on quite a lot of things. Anyway, lots of rambling, lots of muttering. It's early morning. I've not fully woken up. I hope you enjoy the video. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Really do appreciate every single one of you watching, and I'll see you again at the end. Right, so I'm going to start painting these now. I'm going to paint all of the wood first off with my raw umber from Winsor Newton. And I'm going to paint the sails, including the back here, with white. I may not leave it white, but I'm going to paint it white at the first stage. So that's going to take me a couple of coats just to do it. I won't film it because it's just putting some paint on. It's untreated MDF. I want to just give that a go and see how well it works. It's worked quite well with the raw umber, but I'm not sure how well it'll work with the white. So we're just going to try it out just for some fun. The water tower, I'm also going to paint the wooden parts with the same. And I'm undecided at the moment what I'm going to do about actually inside the tower, because what I hadn't noticed is there's actually holes in it. And I was thinking about putting some resin in, but I'm going to need to spend a little bit of time sealing that if I'm going to put resin in it. So I'm going to hold off on that for now, have a think. So I'll be painting the wooden parts in the raw umber, and then the sails and the tail plane I'll be painting in white. So I'll get that done. I'll let you know how many coats it takes, and if it's not working, then I'll let you know, and we'll look at treating the MDF to make it not soak up so much, because that's what happens. It normally just takes more coats than needed if you don't treat it. But yeah, let's get this painted. I decided to go back to my white box from TTCombat even, apologies, TTCombat, and I've picked out the Saloon, which is a large building. It's only one building, I believe, in this. Yes, only one building, I think. And yeah, I'm going to put it together. So, as with the other ones, I'm not going to go into too much detail about exactly how you do it. I've been through that a couple of times. I've got the instructions printed off, which are free on the website. And yeah, the whole thing is just really easy to put together. Just to highlight again, look at how packed that sprue is, how little spare space there is. It's one of the things I really have been very impressed so far with these TTCombat buildings. Not just how well they go together, and I actually prefer how they do the multi-layers over the Sarissa little kind of like where you have a hole and you've got to kind of put the upper floor and press it down. These have little kind of slots that sit in, and works much better, particularly if you're looking at texturing the outsides. Those are the two things I've been really impressed. One, the fact that there's just so little waste material. It's really efficiently done, really carefully and cleverly put onto the sheet. And then I do prefer the multi-floor thing. So those are the two things I'm going to say right at the front. I'm looking forward to this, and I would also just say do your dry fitting, because sometimes the instructions can be a little bit confusing and you can find that you've done it wrong. So just do the dry fitting, because the negative about this is that there is no key as to where you actually are going to find the parts that you're about to put together. So you can see here there's no indication of which sprue those 3 parts or 4 parts actually are. You've got to kind of just be really, really careful when you're looking for them. So I'll get it glued together, get it all stuck. If there's anything particularly interesting, I will record and highlight it and show. But ultimately, I'll come back when I come to the detailing, because that's the fun part for these. So I'm going to build this over the next couple of days, yeah, then we'll start painting it. And this will be another centerpiece, the good building for my awesome Wild West town, which is basically becoming a city. Well, I found my first thing that I want to highlight. And it's actually relatively important, which is cool. So this is the entrance to the saloon, and the instructions have you gluing it into here with these cool little like angle things, and then putting on the supports and the porch cover. Now the problem is because of the angle, the supports and the porch cover will fall off because it's leaning forwards, and so the moment is twisting forward. So unless you use super glue, or unless you glue these on and let them dry completely, you're not going to be able to glue that as one. However, if you do this, if you glue the supports on and the porch on before you attach it to, or try to stand it upright, and just let it get enough grab, then you can do both those steps at once. And what I really don't like is waiting around for no good reason, and frankly this seems like no good reason. You're going to have to do this in too many steps if you don't do it like this. So if you do this, then you should find that will now get enough grab in a couple of minutes to then move on. So there's not often that you find issues like this in these builds, sometimes, not often, but that will now sit there, wait to go off just enough to have a grab, and then I'll be able to drop it back into this place. Other than that, it's going well. I've got to, this is now step 7, so I've done that in the last couple of minutes, 1 cup of tea. So yeah, I'm just going to crack on as far as I can until I have to get to work, because I'm going to work a bit today as well. It's Bank Holiday Monday, but I'm still going to do a bit of work. Well, there it is. That was actually relatively easy. It's actually 2 buildings. You've got the livery stables as a separate building, which I think is supposed to kind of slot there, maybe with a bit of an alley between the 2. I think that's how it is on the art anyway. But yeah, it went together really well, as they all do. Lifts off in the same way as other ones, really, really simply. I'm now going to look at painting it. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it went together. What I'll be doing is I'll be painting it in the same way as I've done the other ones. So I'll be painting the wood with the burnt umber, and then I will use the white chocolate. If I can reach that, I can. There it is, the white chocolate as a dry brush. And then I will be rendering the non-wooden bits with some, with I'm not sure what yet, but with colour of grout with sand mixed in it, so that it's got a nice texture. So I will show you how that looks. But yeah, really cool little build. The one thing it's missing is is an interior here, so I think I might try to build a little bar in there, but I'm not going to do that as part of this video, because this video is just building the stock and decorating it. What I'll probably end up doing is another video where I'll show you how I'm going to make a bar, and I think that I'll have, the bar will be downstairs, and what I'll probably do is split the upstairs into a couple of rooms as well, just to make it a little more interesting if I ever decide to play inside it, because big open spaces isn't as much fun when if you're inside a building, you want to have a couple of rooms, because then you can do a little bit more fun. But putting it together, really easy, really simple, nothing really major to point out as a concern. It just went together well. I pointed out the only issue I had earlier on, so after that everything else has gone very quickly, and it's been done today. It's still Bank Holiday Monday, so literally put it together in less than a day, and I've been out, so probably about an hour or so's effort in total to put that together. Really, really easy, really quick, really cool. So let's get it painted and textured and finished up. So this has just taken 2 coats of the burnt umber, raw umber even, and looking really, really good. So pretty happy with how that is, and I'll be coming along next with the white chocolate to do the dry brushing. Same with the with this, with the windmill. The actual windmill fell off, which I wasn't unhappy about because it's made it a lot easier to paint with it separate, and the white has gone on just with 2 coats as well. So it's only taken 2 coats, so it's actually not too bad. I've also started painting up the some of these carriages and what have you, just using the same brown to do an undercoat. I've not yet started painting the actual coach because I want to do that a little bit more fancy and less grubby, but these will be done in the same way, dark wood, then with some dry brushing. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some paint onto the wooden boards of the water tower. So I've got this reddish brown paint picked up in Belgium many years ago now when I first started this crazy adventure, and I'm just gonna come along and paint that on. Now actually, let me just do this on camera. If you want to have the effect of a grain without having much effort, what you want to do is use your brush strokes to actually give lines and leave lines. So don't do it smooth, which is what we have as a habit, is trying to not leave a texture from the brush. But if you actually use the brush to leave a texture, then you can get the impression of some wood grain. It's easier if you have a slightly wetter brush. It just means that you move more paint and you leave less behind where the brush actually touches. So that's a little tip. So what I'm going to do is get this painted, trying to leave, as I say, some lines so that it looks a little bit like it's got a grain, and then I'll finally come back and I'll do the bands, which will be done using a metal, a silver or a metal paint. So yeah, I'll get that done. I might pick out some details on some of these carriages and what have you, carts, with this red colour as well. But then when that's all ready and all done, I'll bring you back and I'll show you how I'm going to do the dry brushing. So what I'm going to do next on these is do the roof. I want to do the roof with wooden beams. So what I've got here is coffee stirrers, and yeah, I'm just in the process of cutting them up and then I'm going to stick them on. So you can see I've already done a couple, just probably been playing around with my technique to get it right. So what I'm going to do is offer this stick up and mark where I want to cut it, just roughly there. Then I've got my nice strong scissors, which I can use to cut the coffee stirrer like that. And as it happens, what I'm working out at the moment is I'm able to get 2 lengths out of each stirrer. So this might take me some time, but yeah, I'm going to go along and cut and tear like this so that I have a nice funky roof like that. Now I'm not sure what I'm going to use to stick them on. I'm thinking maybe PVA. I think that's probably going to be the best thing. So, but I'm going to get a load of these cut first to the right length, and then I'll let you know how I get them stuck. So yeah, let's get cutting up coffee stirrers. I've just been watching The Drinker give me his top, his favourite James Bond in order, and done all of those coffee stirrers. I've got to the point where I need to weight it down and finish tomorrow. That I know that it's a bit annoying because I'm really close to finished, but I kept knocking them off. So I'm going to let them all dry with the weights on and get that done. So let me show you what I'm going to do now just before I end the day. The last thing is going to be to use the raw umber to paint the wood on this building. Now I am actually a little bit tempted to not use raw umber on this, but to use the reddy brown which I got in Belgium, which I really like using as well, just to make this stand out a little bit more from the other wooden buildings. So I might do the roof in the darker and then make use of this reddy brown here. Get that in shot, there we are, to paint all the wooden details on this, which is basically the entirety of this, I believe. There's a couple of details which you might pick out not in this colour, but I think I am going to I've taught myself into it. So what I'm going to do is going to paint that. It's not going to take very long to do, and I won't worry about filming it because it's just painting it on. Might take 2 coats. I'll let you know how many coats it takes, and then yeah, I'll bring it back for the finishing touches. This building is going to be very, very quick. I'm going to do the main part of the saloon after I've finished doing this. Alright, we're now coming towards the end of these little buildings. I'm going to work on this one to show you what I'm going to do, and I'll do the other one off camera. It's getting there though. What I'm going to do now is, this is obviously water based. It is a water tower, and so what I'm thinking there would probably be is some green kind of mossy stuff. Not to be too technical. So what I've got here is just some greenhouse paint, which I'm going to stipple on rather than dry brush, just to make it look like there might be some mould or some kind of interesting growth going on around this water tank. You can see that the paint that I've put on this previously has worked really well. The difference in the dark and then the kind of more reddy brown for the actual tank itself, and then the dry brush with the white chocolate has worked really well. So very, very pleased how this is looking. So yeah, just like that. Not much more complex than that. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get some light grey, and I'm going to paint where it's going to be metal. I'm just going to paint that in light grey. That's going to be sufficient. So let me just grab the paint down because I didn't actually reach it off my shelf. Okay, so we've got some light grey paint here. This is the stuff that I use quite often for my dry brushing on rocks. And this is going to be absolutely sufficient for the purposes of what I'm doing here. So I've got a small brush, and I'm probably going to do most of this off camera because it's going to be a little bit fiddly to try and keep this all in shot. But yeah, basically going to paint around the rim, paint around the rings like that. So I'll get that done, and I'll get the same kind of a little bit of green, and then pick out any metal on the actual windmill. Most of the metal actually is going to be this ring here. That's going to be the main thing that I'm going to paint grey. And then when that's done, I'll bring you back for the final stage, which is going to be applying the ground texture. Okay, that's worked really, really well. You can see just that light grey. I have ended up having to paint the centre ring of that black first. I may come along and put grey over the top of it. The contrast just wasn't great enough because that is a very light grey. And unfortunately, my slightly darker grey is, yeah, still like separated, and I can't use it. I'm going to need to buy another, which is really annoying. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the base of this. So just out of shot, or just in shot actually, you can just see I've got my glue, which is watered down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically paint the inside first. I can do this in 2 stages. It's probably the easiest thing to do. So I want to get quite a good covering of glue, but I want to make sure that I'm not getting it too much on the surrounding frame and webbing. So apologies, this is just out of shot, but I figured it was more important for you to see the gravel than the glue application. So there we are. So we're going to get, I think I've got enough glue now. So yeah, we'll get that painted in, as you can see, getting it right up to the edges and all the way around. Okay, it's very, very simple, this technique. This is the bit that's the hardest if you really want to avoid getting your glue anywhere else. So what we now do, you can use a hand or you can use a spoon or whatever, but throw some sand on it, and there we are. So what I'll do now is I'll paint the outsides and do the same thing, and I'll also do the same for the for the windmill, that's the word. So paint the inside, do that one, and then fill the outsides in, and then I'll bring you along because there is going to be some foliage on this, but first of all I'm going to let that dry. What I'll also do is once that's dried, I will then put another coat of the same glue over the top just to seal it in place. This is gaming terrain, it doesn't want to be hard wearing. I've just finished painting on the ceiling layer of PVA, as you can see over the top of the sand. What I was wanting to do was use this, which is old tea leaves that I saved a long time ago. Did a friendly challenge, which is kind of still ongoing actually, so I could probably enter this. And I'm going to make use of this just to put some detritus around the base of each of these uprights. So I actually am going to need to tip it a little bit, and I hope that I can get this on camera. It's a little bit fiddly, so I don't really want too much going inside, and I don't want it too much all the way around. I just want in places for there to be a little bit of different texture and a little bit of different colour. I'm going to do something a bit more interesting on the actual inside, which I will do once the ceiling has sealed. And I'll obviously need to seal this as well, so I'll wait for that to dry, and then I'll come along and I'll put a coat of this watered down PVA just over the top of where I've done these tea leaves, just to make sure they don't fall off. So yeah, that'll probably dry in. I actually got my fire lit, can't believe it, in April. It's cold here at the moment, but with the fire lit it dries quite quick, which is a benefit. So when that's all dried, I will coat it, and then I'll come back for the next step, which is going to be putting some actual kind of like dead foliage underneath inside in here. So yeah, really enjoying this step, really having fun here. So this is actually take 2, because I started doing this, made a mistake, which I'm going to show you, because I haven't done it take 2 because of the mistake, but the camera was not very well set up. So I started drawing around it, and yeah, just got it all skew-if. So the idea is I have decided that, despite saying I'm not going to do an internal for this as part of this stage, I've actually decided I kind of need to, just to make it look nice, because there should be some things inside. You should be able to see in through this window, particularly through the front door, and I just think it would look better if I've got myself an interior just covered in hay. So I don't want to use MDF because, well, I don't like it, and I bought these and I never used them, and they're a waste of money. So what I'm going to try to do, second time lucky, is roughly draw around the inside, not worrying too much about the corners, because I can extrapolate those, because I'm going to fit the floor inside the building, probably sitting on top of the corner pieces. So I've done that drawing now, so I can lift, there we are. So probably sitting on top of these corners that you can see here, if I can get the angle right, there we are. So yeah, on top of these, and that will mean that when you look in, I'll be able to have hay and straw and what have you going on inside there. So I will be able to extend these lines, cut that shape out, which I'll do now, and then get that stuck in just using PVA, and then I'll be able to paint it and do whatever I need to do to make the inside a little bit more interesting. The other thing that I'm doing at the same time is I have finished putting all of the wooden whatsits on the coffee stirrers onto both sides of the roof. So first stage, I'm going to use my dark raw umber to put some colour on that. So I'll do that as well. I'll just use a wet brush to do that. It's not going to be dark brown. It's going to be a much lighter colour long term, but that's going to be my base. Anyway, I'll get those two things done, get this cut out and glued on, get this painted, and then bring you back and show you the next step. Well, the livery stable is coming on nicely, so now I'm going to start working on the actual saloon. And so the first thing I'm going to do is very simple, and I'm going to just start painting it with the wooden colour. So this is the raw umber that I use pretty much all the time. Oh, actually I can lift that off, I'd forgotten about that. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint over all of this wood, where it's going to be wood, with the raw umber, just to give it its base coat. Like I say, I will come along, same as with the roof of the livery stable. I will bring this down back from such a dark brown, but this is a really good base. So just going to paint over all of this very quickly, won't take me long, and all of these areas here as well, though they definitely won't stay dark brown because this is a saloon and so they should be painted. But I want to have them dark brown so that I can maybe leave a little bit of gaps or whatever and have it a little bit more kind of like character in the painting job of this. So I get that done, then we'll finish off the rest of the wood of this, and then I will do the grout texture, which is the bit that I like the best out of all these builds. So yeah, just get this done now, it won't take me very long. Oh, this worked really well. I've just glued it in place with PVA and it's lovely and solid. The one thing I had to do extra is in this corner I had to notch out a couple more notches just to go around these kind of like sticky out bits, for want of a better word. And it's worked so well that I've decided I'm actually going to base the base of the actual saloon as well. Now, I have muttered earlier, I know in this, about putting a bar and what have you inside, and obviously I would need to base it to do that. So yeah, I'm just gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm gonna cut out for the inside, put it inside, glue it down to these corner bits. It may need to have a little more than of support than that one. I'm not sure. I'll have a bit of a play around, but basically I'll cut it out, and I'll let you know how I get it stuck in, just in case you want to do the same thing for the same kit. Anyone out there that wants to do the same thing? But yeah, pretty pleased with how that floor's gone in, so I'm going to do that on this one as well, which is going to mean it's going to be much easier to do an internal and make it look really, really cool and fun to play on. I've decided on the colour for the saloon, and it is going to be Rosie's favourite colour, which is orange. Yes. So I've mixed it up, just it's grout mix. If you want to know how, check the link in the description of the video. I have that in every video of mine. So what I'm going to do now, and I won't film most of this because it's going to be pretty samey, but just to show you, it's a lovely orange. I think I'm probably going to need to do 2 coats, but that's fine. That's what I normally do on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and paint this over everywhere where there's not supposed to be wood, which does involve some relatively accurate painting, but take your time and it'll be fine. So yeah, this is how I go about adding my texture. Because I do 2 coats, I'm not too worried right now if it's not 100% solid. You just want to get the cover on, so that when you come back and do your second coat, you fill in the gaps. So yeah, let's get this done. It's going to look funky, and I think I'm going to call this the orange peel. That's what the name of this bar is going to be. So I will be making a custom sign throughout the front. So yeah, let's very, very carefully paint this on, and I'll bring you back when it's done and when I get into the next step. Yeah, we're getting close on this now. It's going to look good. Just now in the post, my new bases have arrived, so I'm going to be able to base up this ogre, or whatever. I'm getting attacked by Xena if I sound distracted, just because she's biting me. Go away, Xena. So I'm going to glue this on and then base it up, and then this little kind of like finish up models that were sat there for years project is going to be done, which is pretty cool. So yeah, they were very cheap off eBay, arrived all packaged, and now I can finish my basing, so you can't argue with that. So the orange peel, or whatever I want to call this, I think I'm going to call it the orange peel. It's coming on really nicely, you can see, really lovely. That's 2 coats. I've still got a little bit left, didn't need to use quite a bit, so I might do a little bit more if I need to. But what I'm going to do now, while Thelma is fighting with her toy on the sofa, is I'm going to use the chocolate white, chocolate brown, which is what I use for the dry brushing. You see, I have actually got ahead of myself a little bit. I've done a bit of dry brushing with it already, same technique as I've used in the other buildings. But I'm going to use that paint, and it's probably going to take 2 coats, I think, just by the very nature of it. And I'm going to use it to paint the details of the wood. So some of them I have put brown on, which I'm happy with, like I've said when I was doing it. It's nice sometimes to have an underpaint and then you come over with a different colour. But yeah, basically it's going to paint all this and the doors in this colour. The reason I picked this is I think it looks a little bit like the pith you get on an orange, and that's what this is going to be called. I'm pretty sure it's going to be called the orange peel or something like that. Anyway, let's get that done. Nearly finished actually. They do the inside though, so not as nearly finished as I would be if I wasn't doing the inside, but nearly finished on the outside. I'm pretty pleased so far with how this is coming. These really are fantastic buildings, they look so good. So yeah, I'll bring you back when I've done, show what it looks like, and then we'll start looking at the interior. Well, now I'm going to start looking at the inside of the livery stable. Probably going to end up having one of these that I've been making as well stuck inside. I'm not sure if I'll stick it down inside, but this one's a little bit damaged. I've managed to damage it, and I've managed to damage this one as well. I managed to break the front off, but the good thing is they fit in, so I don't know whether I'm going to actually stick them in or whether I just may leave it so that they can go in. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this cafe latte, which is kind of a beige, and I'm going to paint basically all of the floor, and then I'm going to put blobs of PVA in and scatter some of my tea leaves, which I really like using. They're really good, and some other smaller tea leaves, and build up a base around the edge, which is going to both add some texture but also actually stick this floor, which is moving, to the walls, so it'll act for two different purposes. So I'll get this painted, and then when I've got to doing the little bit of texturing I'm going to do first, initial texturing, I'll turn the camera back on. So I had a nice little delivery this week as well, I almost forgot about. It went into the workshop, but I think I probably want it up here. And these are some 3-2-1 blocks, which I decided to get. They're really useful for weighting things down, and for also just the fact that they've got they're 3 inches, 3 inches by 2 inch by 1 inch, so they've got that kind of like size as well. But they're really good for weighting, and also just really pretty in their box. And they were on sale, so I picked them up. So they will be appearing, I'm sure, on the channel, maybe mostly as weights, but also potentially just as measurements as well, which can be quite useful, but I think mostly as weights, to be fair. So yeah, they arrived this week, pretty happy with them. While I'm on the inside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to paint inside both the upper and ground floor of the actual saloon, and also I'm going to, if we zoom out a little bit, you'll see there's a few areas where I've made mistakes with my orange, so I'm going to come along with the brown and kind of paint over that again, because that looks a bit ugly. So yeah, so I'm going to get that done. I'm just going to use the same brown again, which I'm using all the time, the raw umber from Winsor & Newton, and I'll just paint that all in there. I will be dividing up the upstairs into bedrooms, and I will be putting a bar in downstairs, but I'm going to do the full paint, the walls and the floor, in the base brown right now anyway, just because I want to have it done, and then I'll come along next and start putting walls in. So I'll show you how I do that when I get to it. This is really starting to come together now. The biggest thing I need to do for the main building is the sign. I've decided I'm going to print out a new sign for that, which is going to say the Orange Peel Saloon. But I was just sat just watching videos and chilling out, and I suddenly remembered that ages ago I bought this, which is a bar. And what's this? It's a bar. So I'm going to paint this up and use this for interior decoration inside the orange peel. It's not the rusty dragon, it's the orange peel. So hopefully it's not too D&D. Might be a little bit D&D, but I think I should be able to get a fair amount out of that. So I should be able to get the bar stools and the bar and the glasses and the tables and what have you. Not sure about the fact that there's dragons on there, but then I suppose there were the Chinese people in the Wild West. They helped build all the railroads and did lots and lots of amazing things in the Wild West. So yeah, that could prove to be okay. But anyway, first thing I'm going to do is stick these to tongue depressors so I can then go and paint them. But yeah, get them painted up, and they will look really well inside, I think. Really good. I'm really pleased I remembered I had it. As I said, next step for this is going to be putting some detritus and material around the edges for the two reasons I've said before. What you can see here, this is hilarious. I saved so many used tea bags, I can't even tell you, like hundreds. I drink a lot of tea, and I've had this drawer full of tea leaves for years. I very rarely use it, and I'm going to use it now because it's a really good material for going into like a livery or a stables or that sort of thing. So the idea is I'm going to run a bead of glue, which I'll do now. I won't do all of this on camera as always because it's just repeated. We'll do a little bit. I'm going to run a bead of glue along the back, and not too much. I'm going to do this in very small stages, mainly because it's cardboard base, and therefore I don't want it to warp and I don't want it to get damaged. So we'll put that in, and then I can empty that out, and you can see that we have there I'll just move the camera in a little bit more so you can see a little bit better. You can see there that we've got a little pile of the tea leaves. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to layer it. So I'm going to drop some more PVA on top and then put some more tea leaves on. And I'm probably not going to do more than 2 layers at a time. I'll wait for that to dry, and then if I want to make it even thicker, then once that's dried, then I'll be able to get a better depth build up. But basically, over a couple of applications, I'm going to end up with a really nice lump of material in that corner, and that's the idea. I'm going to come along and do that across all of the across the back and in each of the corners and what have you. Now you can already see why I'm going to be very careful. You see the line here on the back? That's where the cardboard was, and because I've wet it and put weight on it, it's fallen through. So I'm going to need to work out a way. I might need to put something underneath it to support it, to prevent that from happening and prevent that from damaging and warping and becoming unusable. So I'll get that saved now, that it'll bend. I was hoping to avoid it by doing it only in a little place. It hasn't avoided it. I'll get that sorted and I'll let you know how I do it. I'll bring you back in a couple of minutes when I've fixed it. So work got a bit ridiculous. So actually it's dried now completely, but I did get this sorted out before I had to rush back to work. And as simple as it is, I went and found a metal plate just out of my workshop, stuck that underneath, and that has supported it, and that is now, as you can see, that is now pretty solid. There's loose bits of tea, but the actual base is solid. Now the other option I could have done, 2 more options. One, I could have done something which wasn't using cardboard. Could have used my Proxon to get some thin slithers of XPS, and I may still do this, because what I can then do is underneath I can stick along the edge to support them, and as it happens I've got these thin slithers here. No idea where I got them from. I've had them in my stash for ages, and if I were to glue a couple of these, so one here and one here, that will act as a good support for the underneath of this building. So I might just do that anyway, I think, because it will mean that it doesn't get knocked through when you put models on it, because it's a hollow space underneath, which isn't ideal. So yeah, that's what I've done. So I'm going to carry on. I've not had a chance to do any more on the tea. You can see that we have got a nice little pile in the corner there. I'm going to carry on with this now, building up the edges. I won't film all of it, 'cause it's just going to be the same, just going to be dropping. Actually, you can see just how much of a rush I was in. I've just noticed that actually the paintbrush that I used is still sat on the lid, and that will now need to be washed quite substantially, because yeah, that's now quite dry. So I'll carry on with this, dropping more tea in, just building up the base layer underneath, and I'll bring you back on this when I come to the next step, which is going to be hay. Right, finishing touches. Really liking these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make use of these briar patches from Woodland Scenics, and once again apologies for the noise of the dogs fighting in the background. It's early Saturday morning. It is actually my birthday today, which is something that's amazing. It's early morning and they are having a good fight. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of these briar patches to stick down, to fill and put a little bit of interest in the middle of, underneath each of these cool structures, because I think that's what you'd probably see there. You'd probably see some like weeds growing up in there, and it's not an easy access, trust me. As you can see, me trying to get the glue in is not the easiest thing in the world, and so why would they bother going in and cleaning up in there anyway? Because it doesn't matter having a bit of briar and a bit of dead brush and what have you. So I've got the two. I've got medium green and I've got dry brown. And so I'm going to put mostly dry brown, but I'm going to put a little touch of the medium green just around the edge, where it might still be getting a little bit more light and looking a little bit healthier. So let's see how well this works. And I don't know how much of this is going to end up on camera, because I have this feeling it's going to be quite fiddly and annoying to do, and I'm probably going to want to like move the piece around a bit to get the glue in right and what have you. I only have PVA, I don't have tacky glue, which is a shame. Really, ideally for this stuff, you want quite a grabby glue to actually hold it in place first. So that's what I'm going to do. Apologies for the shaky camera work there. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the glue in and then glue some briar and brush in on the inside, mostly dead, and then I'm going to do the medium green just as highlights in it. It's very brown, but it will add some interest. It also add some cover. So I'm going to get done because it's a bit fiddly. I'll bring you back when it's finished and I'll show you what they look like, because this is basically the last step that I'm going to do on these projects for now. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to easily be able to film this because it's crazily fiddly and annoying and hard to do, yeah, I'm juggling it and I don't want to swear on camera. So anyway, I've done one of my chariots, as you can see. Got a bit of a blocked nose, apologies. So I've got my dwarf casualty stuck in there, and then I've stuck down the 2 horses and the actual chariot, and I'm going to let that go off, and then I will stick, once that's dried, then I will stick the actual charioteer into the chariot. So that's the order I'm having to do it, and it is fiddly because you have to kind of stick one horse down. Let me see if I can film it actually. Let me see if I can film it, because it'd be nice to, but basically I've stuck one horse down, then stuck the casualty in, then the other horse, and then the actual chariot. So yeah, I will get myself set up and see what I could do to capture this on camera, but if no clip appears after this one of me doing it, it's because it just got too fiddly. So let's give it a go. Right, let's see how successful this is. So we have 2 horses. Here we are, these are the 2 horses, and we have the actual, and we have the chariot. I'm going to try and use this dude as my corpse, though that might potentially prove to be a bit difficult because of how big he is. And that's one of the issues I'm having. So it might be that he has to go sideways and he might slot in there, about to be run over by the actual, by the chariot. So we're going to split these, the horse, 2 horses and the chariot off of my tongue depressors, like so. And then start trying to position everything, which is what actually takes most of the time, is arranging the position and trying to juggle it so that it doesn't actually fall over. So this one might actually work out easier because of the corpse. Let me just center that a little bit more. There we are. A bit more light on there. That's better. Turn that light on. So what I've found is that these are quite a lot of these are actually glued on a little bit skew-if. I don't know if that's very much coming out, but they're not quite straight. So very carefully straighten it out. This is one of the pleasures of working with metal. And then what you can do is you can kind of, as you see, you can kind of balance it together and hopefully get everything positioned on the base, and then it falls over, which is what happens, and then it falls over because this horse in particular is really difficult to balance. The pudding base is very, very fiddly and annoying, and it's not very well balanced. So getting it to stand up isn't the easiest thing in the world, especially when you're clumsy like I am as well. This is why I wondered whether I was even going to be able to film this, because it was very fiddly to try and do. Oh, got that balanced. Got that balanced. I'm leaving the pudding bases on because it'll be even harder without the pudding bases. And then I should be able to drop that in there. This is not easy. But once you've proven that things fit on, that's good enough for me. There we are. Sorry, that wasn't very well filmed. But once you've proven that everything fits on, what you then do is attempt to glue it down using super glue. So I will lift off the chariot, and then that having fallen off is fine because I've got my space, my positioning. I can look at the actual corpse and position it correctly, so I can get some glue on this. It is really fiddly. I don't know how well this is coming across, how obvious, how fiddly it is on camera, but it really is fiddly. You could potentially have already put some glue onto the corpse and onto the bottom of the pudding bases, but that might be an idea. I might try that next one and report back, but I didn't need to on the first one. Sorry, hand getting in the way. Okay, and then a little bit of glue there, and on the other one in the saddle, and then a little bit of glue on the bottom of the wheels, which was off camera. I'm not looking at my camera because I'm just focusing so much on what's in front of me. That needs to go twist a bit. There we are. Nope, further back. There we are, right. And then what you do is you step away, settle it in, and then step away. So as you can see, it's pretty fiddly. Looking at the time, that's taken me nearly 5 minutes a clip. Apologies, that was probably very boring, and I might have cut some of it out. But that's what I'm having to do. So once that's all set and dry, then I can, as I say, add the charioteer. I have one more to do, which I'm not going to do on camera. And then I will be using Scrubland Base Ready from Geek Gamix or Luke's APS, as was when I bought it, which is the same as I used for the cavalry and the foot soldiers. So yeah, fiddly, but I really like the fact that I've got those corpses in there. I think they add something, and hopefully once that's all gone off and dry, that'll be solid enough, particularly once I put on the glue and the base ready. So yeah, let's get the last one done. Well, I've been putting this off for a very long time. This box was delivered to me, let me have a quick look. It was delivered to me November, 29th of November last year. It's now 23rd of April. So yeah, I've put this off for a very long time. I'm quite nervous about this. I ordered the flat pack because I want to understand how the printer works. I don't want to be in a situation where something breaks and I've never seen inside the printer. And so yeah, because of that, I've put off taking it out of the box. I was able to put it off for a long time because I hadn't made up the enclosure, but of course I now have, and it's sitting over there looking very nice. So on my birthday, it is my birthday today, I am going to take this out of its box, as you can see I'm doing, and start putting it together. Now I've heard that it's really difficult, and I've heard that it will take a long time. So let's get started. Let's have a look and see what's in the box. So first of all, we have a congratulations on getting the brand new original Prusa printer. Thank you, Yusuf. We would like to take this moment to thank you again for buying the printer directly from the author Joseph Prusa. So we have websites, we have email, yeah, good, okay. We have a 3D printing handbook, which is going to be useful, and we have we have a book, literally a book for how to assemble it. Oh, wow. So so let's have a look through this. We have an introduction, we have the Y-axis assembly, X-axis assembly, Z-axis assembly, E-axis assembly. How many axes does this thing have? The LCD assembly, heat bed and PSU, electronics, and then a pre-flight check. So yeah, I'm saying that there's 300 or 400 steps to this, and it's a 136 page book. So yes, I think maybe this is quite nervy. It's going to take me a while. However, it does look like everything in the box is really nicely put together. So you can see this is numbered to y-axis, and if I go to my box of my book, you can see that to y-axis. So they're numbered correctly, which is nice. So this is some kind of like testing protocols. So I've got a printout showing the hot end heating measurement graph and a heat bed heating measurement graph. Looks like it goes a bit hot and then drops back down again. Don't know. And the rest of the stuff is really, really well packed in. So I'm going to pull everything out, get it spread out, and then actually didn't realise I was going to need to do this. Probably should have started this months ago. I'm going to start reading the assembly instructions, and I'm going to go through in order because I am presuming that what you need to do is do the y-axis, then do the x-axis. So I'm going to read through the y-axis. What it does say, though, is you should use the online version of the manual when assembling the kit as well. So I might actually get my laptop and have it here while I'm doing this assembly. But I think this could end up taking quite a few days. But at least I've opened the box. I mean, that's a start, isn't it? At least I've opened the box. All right, so let's have a go at starting this. First of all, let's highlight the most important part of the kit. They provide you with Haribo, and at the end of every stage, they tell you how many to eat. That's a brilliant touch. Stupid, doesn't add anything to it apart from it puts a smile on your face, and that's the most important thing. So what I've done, I've read the instructions. I'm not sure that this is going to be a quick process. I'm going to be super careful and slow with how I do it. But I've read the instructions for step 2 or section 2, which is the first part, which is the y-axis assembly. Now I think I'm going to do this really steadily. I'm not going to try and finish it all today, certainly not. I'm not going to worry if it takes me 2 weeks to make. I'm just going to work very steadily over putting together the printer, and maybe try and do 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day at the most. I'm not going to film it all because that would turn into a stupidly long video, but I am going to do a little bit of an introduction like this before I start, and then highlight any problems or issues or anything and show you where I've got to at the end of my session. So let's get going. What I've done is I've gone through all of the boxes, and they're all arrayed behind here, as you can see, and I've pulled everything that says to y-axis, because like I say, everything is labelled nicely. So what I've got at the moment is I've got these 2 bags, I've got this box, and then inside here, which has steel sheets and what have you, I've got part of what I need as well, the 2 parts that I need for the for stage 2, which is that big bit of metal there, which I'll pop down over here, and this cool cutout, which I'm looking at and going, oh, I can do something crafty with that, and then this bit of metal here. So I've gathered together everything I need. The other thing that I've got is this, which is the tools, stage 0. It's really good that they give you everything you need. You don't have to dig around and hunt for things. They give you everything you need. They even give you some Pritt stick or some glue, which I believe you use on the print plate. But I'll get to that because I've not got to it yet. This is all totally new for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with step 2, because step 1 is the tools, so there we are. Step 2, the Y-frame, preparing the components. So I'm going to get that done, get that all gathered together. That is this piece here, that is one of the things you need. And then I believe probably some stuff that's in here. So that's an end plate, I recognise that. I'm going to use this large bit of cardboard here to put things on, so that I don't damage anything. It is really nicely packed. And yeah, these are the, what do they call them? Extrusions. So you have a 2 short and 2 long extrusions, and it's really clear. Like I say, I'm gonna stop filming in a second because I want to focus on this and I don't want this to get too long as a video, but just to give you an example of how clear these instructions are, I've gathered together everything I need. I will have to find the screws. I think they're probably in here. I've just realised that's what I don't have. But take the longer aluminium extrusions and place them next to the frame. So let's do that. I won't do this for most of this putting this together, but I think it's really important to show you just how clear these are. Make sure that the engraved Prusa logo, top left, and the safety sticker right on the frame are visible. So if we look at this, you can see that there's a safety sticker and there's the engraved logo. So really clear, really, they're not allowing you to make mistakes. They're being absolutely clear, and it says in the how to read the instructions, you really need to read the instructions. Don't just look at the pictures, read the words. Next, note, screws are inserted from the opposite side of the frame. So the screws come in from behind here. If you need to manipulate with the frame, make sure the extrusions are on the correct side. So I repeat this over and over again. Ensure you're using the correct holes. See the second picture. So the longer ones go inwards, basically, and the shorter ones go on the other side and on the outside of the of this frame. So it's just really clear. So what you then do is you tighten the screws slightly, you put them through and just tighten them slightly, and then it says to tighten them diagonally, so on the diagonal, so top right, bottom left, bottom right. And that's really important because it means that you're not going to get any skew or any it's going to tighten up straight, basically. And that's just for step 3. That's step 3 of Y-axis assembly. Y-axis assembly, to give you an idea, is 39 steps. So, yeah, well, I'm not sure how much I'll get done today. I'm going to have a go at assembling some stuff. I'll come back when I've done, highlight, like I said, anything that I find that's of particular challenge or interest, but basically, I'm just going to see how far I can get before my 10-15 minutes or so of assembly time for this session is up. So let's get cracking. Oh, I think I'm done for now. It's taken me far more than 10-15 minutes. It's probably more like half an hour or so. But just been enjoying it and cracking on, and so I carried on. But I need to get on with some other things now. It's gone together very well. It's totally stable. There's a point in the instructions where it tells you to check the alignment. It was absolutely spot on, totally square. The one thing that I confused myself with, and I'm going to say I confused myself, is it talks about the long and short extrusion, and I did it right the first time, so I put this part on the correct place, and then I read it and I thought, long and short, no, it needs to be on the long. And I looked at this, so I took it off and tried to fit it. They don't actually match. Thankfully, they're screwed differently. Extrusion are these, not the plates, and so I just confused myself. This is the long extrusion, this is the short extrusion, and yeah, so that was the only little bit of confusion I got into, but it's entirely my fault. Everything else has gone together absolutely brilliantly. I've just finished step 18, which is the Y motor holder, and as it says, they are labelled. The motors are labelled, so you're not going to make a mistake and put the wrong one in the wrong holder. The next step is the Y-axis Y carriage, which is the funky shaped bit of metal. But I'm going to stop for now. I'm not going to push too far. I'm going to go and do a few other bits and pieces that I've got to get done. And I may try and get back to this a bit later on today. But yeah, so far so good. So far so much no mistake, and so far going together all right. But I'm only on page 25 of 130, so there's a long way to go. But I suppose at least starting off and feeling relatively happy is better than starting off and feeling awful. So here's for the next attempt. We'll see how far I get the next time I try. So I've got all 3 done, as you can see. And what I'm going to do now, before I actually attach the charioteer, is I'm going to do the base material. So like I've said, I'm going to use Scrubland Base Ready, and I've done this a number of times before, so I won't do this for every single one, but I'll give a quick demonstration of how I do it. And it is really simple. This is probably Luke's most genius idea. So what we do is we slap some of the basing glue onto the base, like so. And I then use a toothpick, because this is silicone based glue, and you don't want it on any of your brushes really, not even your rubbish ones, because if you put it on your brushes they are done for. So what we'll then do is we will spread it around with the toothpick like this. Pretty simple. So I will get all of the base covered and the puddings, which is one of the problems with leaving the puddings on, but I think this would have been a huge pain if I'd not done that. It would have been far harder even than it has been to get them to stand up. So I've left the puddings on. So I'll get this done and then bring back in a minute to show you the next step. So there we are, we've got the glue all over, and then it's a case of, which is a bit hard with a base this big, but there's a case of basically covering it with the quick basing material like this. You could do this over another container maybe to make it a bit easier, but ultimately all you're looking at doing is making sure that you cover all of the glue with material. So little pinches can work as well. And that's it. Let that dry. So I will now do that to the other 3 bases, and then once that's set, which I'll leave it for a couple of hours, I will then seal it with some watered down PVA just to make sure it seals. But yeah, pretty happy with that. And the final thing will be putting the actual charioteer in. So that's how I do my basing. Well, I've finished painting up the next 12 Warbats. And what I'm going to do now is use Luke's base ready, or Geek Gaming, to just fill in the gaps around the edge of the base. So you can see particularly clearly on this one there's a gap here which doesn't look very good. So to do this I use fast drying basing glue and my cocktail stick. I'm not going to film it because I've done it lots of times. If you're not sure, I believe I have a video linked below showing you how I go about doing it. Just stick some glue on, push it around with the cocktail stick, and then dunk it into the base ready, and it's done. So yeah, I'm going to get that done, and then these are finished, and that means I have 24 Warbats, and frankly that's about the right number, isn't it? Well, I've put the king onto his base and stuck a corpse on, and also assembled and based the chariot as well. I'm really pleased with how these have turned out. If you want to know how I did the basing, just watch the how I did it for the normal charioteers, exactly the same. But I do have a corpse, a dude sat right in the middle there, about to get squished, as you can see. And at the base of the dismount I've also got a corpse as well. So really good fun doing those, a little bit of a more advanced basing than I normally do. But yeah, these have been a good little project to do. And with that, with the king, that is my Khandish project completed, which is also cool. So I'll have to try and get some games with these. But yeah, all done. So in total I did 6 horse, so 6 cavalry, 3 normal on chariot, and then I did dismounts for them. And then of course I've got this king to lead them. So it's a small force, but it wasn't cheap to buy. Games Workshop don't make canned and easy army to collect, very expensive. But I've always wanted them, and now I've got just a small warband, and I'm really happy. I've had a lot of fun putting them together. So not as hard as I thought they'd be at all. Just took a long time because of various other external factors, but they're done now. Alright, well let's have a look and see how these are doing. So I think they're doing pretty well. Yeah, we've got some here that you can see have multiple leaves on, so that's really good. Need to put a little bit more water in that one. This as well has some ones that are doing pretty good, getting some good progress on a few of those. And in this one as well. Some of them are still just single leaves, but there are a couple there with 2. In my experience, it's always when you get that second leaf that you're happy, because it shows that there's some multiplication going on in the growing. I'm not a biologist, no idea what that's called, just nothing in this one. May as well not even bother with that one anymore. But overall, that's pretty cool. We have quite a few coming along, so going to keep watching these, keep watering them. Might have to actually separate them out this week, I'm not sure, but yeah, they're doing really well, and this was a good idea, I think, because it's been quite cold at times over the past couple of days, or the past couple of weeks even, and so this has kept the soil warm even when it's been really cold. Well, I finally managed to get my Boris Vallejo prints that I got via Mindwork Games, and I've got them hung up. So you can see I've put 3 of them up here. This is between one of my racks of displays for things I've made, and then here are a load of my miniatures that I've painted. And then if I just skip down the corridor a little bit, it's a bit dark, but here are the other 2. They're very dark paintings, so it's very difficult to film them. So yeah, really pleased. This is above my Solomon Kane artwork. So yeah, they really are, that's a bit better, get a bit closer. They really are absolutely beautiful, and I'm very pleased to get them hung. So they're just on in cheap frames at this stage, but yeah, at least they're on the wall. Well, there we are. A long video again, but then they often are, aren't they? Really enjoyed yesterday, like I said in the intro. Putting together the Prusa was a big milestone. I've had that for a long time, as I said. November it arrived, and to finally break that duck, to finally be able to have the space in the workshop and have the kind of like motivation and, yeah, a bit scared of putting it together. So yeah, that was a little bit of a limit as well, but to have started it and have it going so well so far really was quite awesome. I've also been cracking on with the Battle Games in Middle-earth build, which will be coming out not next Tuesday, the Tuesday after this video, but the following Tuesday. So I'm very nearly finished on it. Really good to have that back in the saddle, and that's also taken some of my time this week. So yeah, really cool. I'm looking forward to showing that to you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, wow, thank you. What can I say? What an awesome individual you must be. Cool, calm and collected, just like I always am, obviously. Let me know if you did make it this far. Really appreciate it. The fact that you've watched any of these videos is awesome to me. I will mention again, as I do at the end of my videos, the thoughts go out to anyone who was directly or indirectly impacted by the horrendous suffering in Ukraine. Really do feel for everyone, and yeah, here's to it being over sooner rather than later. Thanks for watching, and as always, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.